Welcome back. Now we're on to part 2. So at this point you should have unpacked all the items in your kit, connected your ISA3 debug adapter to your computer or a network that's attached to your computer. You should have created an account on the technical support portal, registered your kit using the kit registration link and the software serial number found in the lower right hand corner of your hardware identification list on your quick start guide. You should have downloaded all the necessary Ember Desktop, Ember ZNet, ISA3 utilities, and IAR Embedded Workbench software. And now you are ready to move on to the next step, which is actually talking to the hardware. So we're going to actually cover step 2, which is an optional step, and this is for configuring static IP addresses on your ISA3. So in my example, I didn't go through any kind of DHCP server to assign addresses, IP addresses to my debug adapter or my computer. So right now my computer is just using static IP addresses for wired Ethernet, and I need to make sure that I can talk on the same Ethernet subnet as my debug adapter. So that means I need to do some configuration here to get my debug adapter to talk to me. So it says, first we're going to have to disconnect the Ethernet connection from the debug adapter. So we'll go ahead and do that. We're going to have to connect one end of the USB cable into the debug adapter and the other end into the PC. So we'll go ahead and do that now. And of course, if you are supplying power from the power to the debug adapter from your PC, then probably you've already done something like this. And once you've done that, you should see some lights on the debug adapter, at least the green power light, to make sure that you've got proper power to it. And now, because you installed the ISA3 utilities, you have some command line utilities you can use to talk to the ISA3. So go ahead and open up a command prompt. So it says run EM34x isa.exe. Now to do that, you'll need a command prompt. So if you're not very familiar with the command prompt, the way that you'll open that is actually by going to your start menu. And if you go to your start menu and just type in CMD, like short for command, you should get a window that looks something like the one shown here. So you've got a command window that's going to have Microsoft Windows and a command prompt. And then it says you're going to need to type EM34x isa3. So EM34x_ISA. Okay. And if this is the first time that you've run that command, what probably will happen next is that you'll actually go through a firmware update on your ISA3. So if you've never done this to your debug adapter before, your ISA3 utilities are probably going to have a new set of firmware for your ISA3 than whatever it was shipped from the factory including. So you're going to maybe have to wait a little bit for the firmware update to proceed, and then you're going to get a set of configuration settings dumped to the screen similar to what I have here that tells you the name of the ISA3, its static IP settings, whether it's in static or DHCP mode, what the IP address settings are, etc. So now you're going to need to set up the IP address settings. So it would be helpful if you know what IP address your computer is using. So for that you can use a command like ipconfig, all one word, and that's going to dump all the address configuration from all of your different adapters. Okay? And since I don't actually have anything connected to wired Ethernet right now, you can't see this, but if I plug back in briefly here, takes a little bit. If I look again, yes, you can see I'm using 192.168.0.1 as my IPv4 address on my computer, and my subnet mask is basically only the lower byte is significant. Okay, so that means I'm going to have to match similar settings with a different IPv4 address with all the bytes the same except the last byte. So now you're going to use this command EM34x_ISA, and you'll say --admin to send an administrative command to the device. And you can check these. So in quotes, you're going to feed it the command. So this is going to say IP static with an IP address, a net mask, and a gateway. So let's go ahead and do that for our IP address. So we'll say IP space static, and 192.168.0.2. Since I'm .1, I'll call this .2. And then the subnet mask, so 255.255.255.0. This is generally the same as what your computer's using. And then the default gateway. So if you have to route through a router or something like that to reach the same subnet as your ISA3, then you can put something here. If you don't actually have any kind of router or gateway, if you're just plugged in directly like I am here, then this gateway address doesn't really matter. So you could just put in something like the same address as your PC, like 192.168.0.1, so it goes right to your PC. Okay? And notice that says it only applies after reboot. The other thing you're going to need to do is make sure that DHCP is turned off. So you're going to run a command like this again with the --admin, but now you'll say IP DHCP off. All right. So now, after we reboot the device, it should turn off the DHCP functionality so that it's not auto-configuring the IP address, and it's going to use the static IP that we provided. We'll just power cycle the device, so we'll remove Ethernet, we'll remove USB, and then we'll put the Ethernet back on. Then we'll put the USB back on. We'll check the settings again by just running EM34x ISA, and that will just query whatever's connected to the USB port. Now you can see it says static 192.168.0.2 and the other settings that I have. And it's usually a good idea to confirm that this connectivity is working okay by doing a ping command. So you can just type in ping and the IP address that you gave the adapter, 192.168.0.2 in my case. And let's see if that works. I have to actually plug in the Ethernet cable. That would be good. So we'll plug in the Ethernet cable like that. And as soon as we do that, we should start getting some responses. Yes, there we go. You can see now the pings are actually working properly. Good. So we've confirmed that we have proper IP address settings to the device. Now you can just type exit, and that will remove the command prompt off your window there.